Today's lesson will be the factual account of the Tulsa Massacre of our Black Wall Street. This lesson shows the true nature of this society as a whole, who has always and will always perceive Black unity and success as a threat. The Tulsa Race Massacre, also known as the Tulsa Race Riot, was a violent event that took place from May 31st to June 1st of 1921 in the Greenwood District of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Greenwood District, often referred to as Black Wall Street, was a prosperous and thriving Black community, known for its wealth, business success, and cultural vibrancy. In the early 1920s, Tulsa had a racially segregated society, and the Greenwood District was home to a large and successful Black population. Many of the residents of Greenwood had built businesses, owned property, and enjoyed a relatively high standard of living compared to other Black communities in the country. The district boasted upscale homes, theaters, schools, restaurants, and other businesses. On May 30th, 1921, the immediate cause of the massacre stemmed from a confrontation between a young Black man named Dick Rowland and a young white woman named Sarah Page, one of the original Karens. This is why white female fragility remained so dangerous for Black people. Dick Rowland was 19 years old, a shoe shiner, and had entered an elevator in a downtown building operated by Sarah Page, a 17-year-old white woman who worked as an elevator operator. Accounts of what happened inside the elevator vary. You have the truth and you have the white lies mixed with white tears, which we know is highly dangerous. Page said that when she was in the elevator that Rowland tried to attack her. Rowland said that he accidentally bumped into her. Page screamed and Rowland fled the scene, which led to rumors and allegations of assault. By May 31st, the following morning, Rowland was arrested for charges of assault, and rumors about the incident began to spread through the city, and the tensions between Black and white residents began to rise. That afternoon, a mob of white residents, aka the KKK, many of whom were armed, gathered outside the courthouse where Rowland was being held, demanding his lynching. At the time, a group of Black residents, including many World War I veterans, gathered to protect Rowland from the lynching. If you don't know what lynching is, that was when a group of white people would grab an unarmed Black person, beat them half to death, string them up on a tree, have a few drinks and a few laughs while they watch a Black person hanged. Then they would leave the body there to rot on the tree so all the other Black people could see that this is what happens when you step out of place. That's what lynching is. Anyway, back to Rowland. Late that afternoon, a group of Black residents, many of them armed, gathered to protect Rowland and prevent the lynching. By 5 p.m., a confrontation occurs between the two groups, the white mob, aka the KKK, and the Black residents. The Black people were there to protect themselves and their homes, and the white mob was there to destroy everything the Black people built out of pure hate. Almost immediately, shots were fired on the white mob side, and the shooting sparked a full-scale riot. Over the course of the next 18 hours, the white mob, many of whom were armed, attacked the Greenwood District with extreme violence. Homes and businesses were looted and burned. White mobs systematically destroyed much of the district. The destruction was widespread, and the violence was indiscriminate, with adults and children being shot and homes set ablaze. Airplanes owned by wealthy whites were used to drop incendiary devices on buildings in Greenwood, further intensifying the fire and destruction. The National Guard was called. They were called in to restore order, but rather than protecting the Black residents, they imposed martial law and allowed the mob's violence to continue. The National Guard even helped contain the Black people so they could not flee from the carnage. The violence continued throughout the night and into the early hours of June 1st. The Greenwood District is almost entirely destroyed by fire and gunfire by this time. It is estimated that 1,000 homes and businesses were burned down, and over 300 Black people were including children. Many of the victims were not properly identified or documented because there was no investigation. Tens of thousands of Black residents were left homeless and never recovered their land or their businesses. Many survivors were forced to seek refuge at temporary camps, while some were placed in detention centers under martial law. They were literally imprisoned for trying to protect their homes, their businesses, and their families. Authorities began to classify the event as a riot it to downplay the racial motivation and focused on the violence of the conflict. It is estimated that the property damage totaled around $1.5 million in 1921 dollars, which is equivalent to $30 million today. This includes the destruction of homes, businesses, and personal property of the black residents. We lost $30 million of our wealth, and no one was held accountable. The media pretended like it wasn't that big of a deal, and so did the government. No reparations were made to the survivors. There was no help for them. They literally had to start over from nothing. For many years, the Tulsa Race Massacre was not even fully recognized or discussed by this government. Generation after generation has tried to receive reparations. We're still living through the results of massacres like this. Tulsa was not the first or the last black neighborhood that got burned down and bombed by racist white people. One thing to note about this cowardice history is that as black people, we have to learn from our history. We have to understand that protecting what we build is just as vital as building it in the first place. We will never let this happen again. We will protect what we build. Global black unity is coming. Black liberation is coming, and there is nothing they can do about it. There is nothing we cannot do together. I love you, black man. I love you, black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.